Gun control is the hot button issue today. With the recent shootings at Sandy Hook Elementary and the movie theater in Aurora, Colorado, it was bound to come up. Gun control is being shouted by people and by the government. Will gun control really cut down on the amount of gun murders in the United States? Will total outlaw of guns reduce murders, period, in our country? Is there a nation out there where these types of laws work? Will gun control lead to more government control on the American people? Let's examine these questions. Will gun control really cut down on the amount of murders in the U.S.? This is a common claim by gun control advocates. The theory behind this is if there are more restrictions on guns, then there will be fewer guns on the streets, hence murders will decrease. There are numerous cities in the U.S. who have very strict gun laws and strict penalties if caught. The city of Chicago has some of the strictest gun laws in the United States. Gun shops are outlawed within the city. Handguns were banned until 2010 because the Supreme Court stepped in and said that was going too far. Illinois is the only state in the U.S. that does not allow a private citizen to carry a gun in public, i.e. does not issue concealed weapons permits. Despite all of this, Chicago has over 500 murders last year alone. With every new tragedy comes a new gun law in this city. New York, Detroit, Baltimore, Oakland, all of these cities have similar gun laws to Chicago and yet see a rise in their murder and crime rates. It would seem gun control is failing in these cities. Murders and crimes are not reduced, but instead skyrocket. The criminal has no respect for the rule of law, so why would they adhere to new gun laws? The only people affected by these new gun laws are law-abiding citizens themselves, like you and me. Passing these laws not only violates the Second Amendment, it makes everyday citizens criminals. Is there a nation out there where these types of laws work? England is a common nation used in the gun control debate. England has a ban on most firearms and very strict controlled laws on owning any firearm. According to Wikipedia, England does have one of the lowest gun crime rates in the world. The gun control advocates love to use this stat, but what they fail to mention is according to the UK Telegraph, the crime rate in England is the highest in Europe. And according to UKCrimestats.com, almost 30% of all crimes in England in January of 2013 were violent crimes and property crimes. Just because the guns are out of the equation does not mean crime will magically drop. The statistics alone prove that it's not the guns that cause the crimes, it's the people. Take guns away and they will find another tool to use. Mexico is another nation that has a complete outlaw on guns. With the recent news of drug cartels and criminals taking over that country, how do you think the gun laws over there are working? Will gun control lead to more governmental control on the people? The Second Amendment was designed by our founding fathers not to hunt or protect us from criminals. It was created to protect us from our government. The founding fathers came from a nation where tyranny took hold. They knew the importance of arming the citizens. They put it second in the Bill of Rights after free speech, for crying out loud. There are many instances of governments disarming the people and then oppressing them throughout our history. Many Americans will say that can't happen in our country, and that's a dangerous ideology to have. The German people didn't think genocide would happen right under their noses with the election of Hitler. But once in office, the first thing he did was disarm the people and then attack the Jews. Even Jewish people voted for him in the beginning. This is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. If you disarm the people, this government becomes over the people. Gun ownership is as much a right as our freedom of speech. It is guaranteed to us by our Constitution. People will say, we're not here to take your guns, we're just going to limit them and make it harder for criminals to get. If you look throughout our history, the more power we give the government, the more restrictions and the fewer freedoms we have. Gun ownership is our last life vest from a possible radical change in our government. If we give them control over our guns, eventually we won't have any. If they can restrict an amendment in the Bill of Rights and maybe even abolish it, what's to say the next dangerous amendment wouldn't be targeted, like the First Amendment? If you remove one amendment from the Bill of Rights, the rest will come toppling down like a game of dominoes.